there, Cancer Sun and Rising. Welcome to your July 2024 Astro Update. It's Rena here, and we all know what July is. It's Cancer time. For the first few weeks of the month, the sun is in your sign. But, you're going to have a new moon here as well. But there is energy going into your second house in the sign of Leo. So I'm going to do things chronologically, but I just want to let you know that if you hear rattling outside, it's because the cicadas are still going at it, getting busy. So one of the big deals or events of July is the blue moon in your opposite sign of Capricorn. And so definitely, because I'm recording this before the full moon in the first full moon in Capricorn in June, I want to say that this is your seventh house of committed partnership. Before I say that, it should go without saying that these are general readings, and especially for the first full moon in Capricorn, that will be at 1 degree of Capricorn. So it's more likely that this will be in your 6th house and 7th house, but at the very least, you'll have one full moon in that house of committed partnership, or there's a good chance. And so this means that, the blue moon angle is just like the rarity of it. It's not like completely uncommon to have blue moons, but they don't happen every month. Let's put it that way. And so that's going to be a big deal for you also because you're ruled by the moon. So anyway, so on the 2nd of the month, two things are occurring. We have Mercury going into Leo, your second house, and Neptune going retrograde. And Neptune is going retrograde at almost 0 degrees of Aries. It's going retrograde at 29 degrees, 56 minutes of Pisces, which is a fellow water sign, and therefore this is a friendly angle to you, and it's coming from the 9th house. That's where your Pisces resides. The 9th house has to do with spiritual matters. I would say especially more organized systems of religious philosophy or philosophy itself, whatever belief system you hold, as well as long distance travel is 9th house, higher education. So it's expansion of all fronts. This is Sagittarius's domain. And so when Neptune goes retrograde, there could be some kind of disillusionment. You do have Saturn in Pisces retrograding as well. Now, again, I'm recording this before Saturn goes retrograde at the end of June, so that hasn't happened yet if you're, listening earlier in June. But Saturn will go retrograde at the end of June, and so you're going to have both of these planets retrograding. And so what I think could be true for some Cancer people is that you are pursuing some kind of career that's connected to spirituality. In some cases, this could be connected to the law, so a paralegal or a lawyer, for instance, and something happens that creates disillusionment. Maybe you realize that it's not really what you want, or it's going to take some kind of effort that you just don't have to give or whatever. So that's happening, but it could be just like a belief system. Now that might actually be in an interesting way good, because maybe you kind of pursued something based on conditioning. Saturn is can be the status quo sometimes, and you realize that that's not really where you're at. And so it you go against that. You no longer have that desire on that level, or that ambition for something. That doesn't mean that it can't manifest in a different way, but there's just something that probably is going to be readjusted. I mean, if maybe you were living abroad, and the illusion is gone. Maybe you had a fantasy of what it would be like to live somewhere. And for some people, if they visit a place on vacation and they're like, wow, I'm going to move here because I really love it. After a while, things start to come out where you see the other side, versus being there for a week or two, and you're in a resort or something, and you don't see the everyday life. And so it can be disillusioning, but that doesn't mean that all is lost. It just might mean that it's kind of like an attitude adjustment. On the 5th, you have your new moon at 14 degrees of Cancer. And so this is a time to celebrate your solar return. If this is your ascendant, then again, because this is a general reading, for some of you, this is going to be in your 12th house, not your first house, and that you're actually going to have to wait for the Leo new moon to have a new moon in your first house and begin that cycle over again. But let's just look at it, because, eventually you'll have a new moon in the first house either way. So what I'll say about that is that it starts a whole new cycle for you, and it's a great time to, if you want to call it, set intentions or just set goals for things that you'd like to manifest in this next period of time, this next 12 months. New developments may come about in some area of life with the new moon in the first house. On the 11th, Venus goes into Leo. This is great for money because Venus rules the second house, which this is in. And so Venus specializes in this area. This can attract money to you. It's also important to note that Mars will not be entering this sector until later in the year, because Mars is going to go retrograde in Leo. So at this time, it's kind of more the feminine way of money maybe magnetizing itself to you, and that can feel very good. But later in the year, there might be more effort that you are making directly with money. This can also be good for self-esteem, for putting more value in yourself at an emotional level. On the 20th, speaking of Mars goes into Gemini. Well, Gemini is the 12th house for you, and as you may recall, there was a period of time between August of 2022 and March of 2023 when Mars was in that one sign. So this is a revisiting of that type of influence, but it's going to be much shorter. That was due to a retrograde, and now we have the next retrograde. Now, Mars in the 12th house can make you want to work behind the scenes. So if you have some new project, and maybe it is connected to money making with this energy coming into the second house, you may choose to do so in a stealthy, is that a word, manner? rather than directly. There can be a tendency to feel rather antsy because the 12th house is the house of contemplation. It's not a house of, outward activity. It's more of like the meditator sitting in an ashram or something. So Hatha yoga is a great way of doing it. And even if you are going to be physical, maybe meditation on the go, like doing a walking meditation, is easier than sitting still. The 12th house can be hidden enemies, and Mars can be this kind of activity. So I don't like to use the term hidden enemies because some people get very anxious about even the word enemy, but really what I mean is it doesn't even have to be that serious. It's basically about when you trust yourself, you don't need anyone else to agree with you or to do what you say because you know that you have your own back. So if there are naysayers, critics, and they're doing things behind the scenes, they may, there may be something going on there that is activated, but, you're divinely protected by virtue of being someone, if you're somebody who is believing in yourself, it doesn't matter what people are saying behind our backs. There's a saying, what somebody thinks of me is none of my business. But I do believe that sometimes people are too trusting and they may have these frenemies. But people like that eventually get exposed, so it's all good. That's why I say that if you are planning something, this is such a power period for you when you have your solar return, for instance, that you're really strong. You have a lot of energy behind you. And sometimes that might bring out the haters because you have that extra confidence boost. And, there's really nothing that you need to do. If you notice that people around you are not encouraging, that's a good sign to, pursue your dreams, maybe covertly, like Mars in the 12th might suggest. Okay, on the 21st, so this is the next day after Mars goes into Gemini, we have that full moon at 29 degrees of Capricorn, which is a blue moon. And this is in your 7th house of committed partnership. And the 29th degree, that's the last degree. So, yeah, it could be challenging meaning if you were holding on to a relationship that's actually not good for you, then maybe this is the coup de grace. This is the final, secret that comes out, or insight that you have into the relationship not being compatible. And being able to kind of accept that and not feel like there is a loss, not feel like that you're going to be less than if you choose to leave, or even if somebody chooses to leave. That to me is really the key. And actually, if I were to wager for anybody who does experience a relationship breaking up at this time, I would say more likely it would be you, because the sun is always opposing the moon at the time of a full moon. And so the sun is in your 1st house of the self. So it is giving you that confidence and that dignity to be able to understand your worth and you have Venus in that second house, pouring the energy of self-love to you. And so I could see, and the sun has that illumination, I could see you choosing to go a different route. But this is not going to be every single person. If, the seventh house can be public relations. Maybe you kind of like go viral or some kind of publicity on your behalf. Self-promotion does very well. That might be a good time to actually launch such a thing. Also, this is the house of legal affairs, so maybe it's the final ending. I'm saying final ending, that sounds redundant, but because there were 2 full moons, there might have been different stages of endings of a lawsuit or some other legal matter. For some people, this could be deciding to get married. Now, I can't see, because this is the commitment phase of a relationship, I can't see many Cancer people being afraid to get married or living with their partner, although I think Cancers tend to be more traditional, plus you want to kind of seal the deal by having a legal arrangement. So you might be more inclined to get married, but there are probably those among you who have the moon in Gemini or Sagittarius or some other free, Aquarius. Maybe you have Venus in Gemini and you're trying to keep your options open or something. And this could be you taking that final plunge and agreeing to commit to someone. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Leo, so the sun goes into that financial sector, and it's joining Venus there and joining Mercury. But a few days later, Mercury goes into Virgo, and that's your 3rd house. Now, interestingly, the 3rd house is ruled by Mercury, as is Virgo, but under the sign of Gemini. I'm talking about the astrological chart, the universal chart. In your personal chart, you have Virgo as your 3rd house. And so this Mercury going into its own domain can make you very interested in sales, forms of communication. So that can involve social media for sure. And I just mentioned that full moon, which is just days before, that could have had some connection to going viral. So there might be some marketing that is going on that has an online connection. So the internet, social media can be 3rd house, the media in general, and Mercury, is certainly like this. Teaching and learning, though, this is in July. Maybe if you are a teacher, you get some kind of notice that you are hired in some school district, or you put out resumes to various school districts, or you're inquiring about some kind of training that you wish to participate in, or maybe you're even beginning such a training. Okay, Cancer, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. Well, I guess it will when July comes along. We don't know, but in any case, if you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.